Hey guys, welcome to today's video. I'm J-Mac, and this is Raid Shadow Legends. Today I want to go over a lot of the mistakes that I made early on starting the game. There's a lot of other videos out there that talk about this stuff, and a lot of things I've done you've probably done too, but I've got a couple that really a little embarrassed to even say that I did it, but I would hope I'm not the only one in the raid community that's ever done a couple of these things, but uh, put the video out and maybe it'll make you feel better about some of your mistakes. So I've got a list here. So first mistake that I made, and I know probably everybody that's played the game has made this, is with skill books. So you got rare skill books, skill tomes, epic skill tomes, and legendary skill tomes. Only use legendary skill tomes on legendary champions. Only use epic skill tomes on epic champions. And then only use the rare skill tomes on rare champions. I probably wouldn't even use the rare ones on the green uncommons because those are pretty easy to get just through the marketplace or doing normal shard pulls. So don't even waste books on them. Save them for some rare champions that you can use in faction wars or someplace like that. So speaking of champions, probably one of the biggest mistakes I made early on was leveling up bad champions. And I've got two that I regret, not necessarily on one leveling up, but putting all the books into them because they really were not that good. So first of all, let me find Shaman. I'm pretty sure she was a prize just from playing the game. So I got her up to 50, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Uh, Unless she gets buffed, I'll probably never take her above 50. And I don't want to feed her because I've got skill tomes invested in her. So her A1, 4 books. A2, 4 books. A3, 2 books. So and she's the one I used a legendary book on, which sucks even worse because of how bad she is. But maybe one day I'll get bored once I get some other champions up to 60. Maybe take her to 60 to use her in faction wars if I don't have, any better options later on. But I just kind of put her in the vault and don't do anything at all with her. Maybe one day she'll get a buff. But anyway, leveling her up and not doing research on a champion before you start to level up and start putting books in. Of course, I was probably 6 months in the game before I even started watching YouTube videos about the game or trying to learn more about the champions and who's bad and who's good. The other champion that I leveled up was Warden. Now, him in himself is not necessarily a horribly bad champion. I definitely would not invest books in him. Luckily, I kind of found out he wasn't worth investing in before I got him all the way booked up. So I lost about 5 epic books. But one of the things that kind of hurt me on my account is probably the best thing he does is increase defense, and he's got a weak version of the increased defense. The good version is a 60%, he does a 30, which if that's all you have, then he's great for starting out. But when I took him to 60, I had Valkyrie and Syl sitting at 50. I just thought he looked awesome, and I thought the defense up and reflect were amazing skills. But so I already had other legendaries that were way better than him. So I took him up to 60 before them. I had Thanasil before him, and Thanasil gives a 60% increased defense. So Warden really wasn't doing me any good because I already had an increased defense on my team. And if that wasn't enough, I also had this bad boy on my account, and he was setting at level 50 also. He also does an increased defense, and it's the big one, the 60%. So I already had two 60% increased defense champions, and I decided to take Warden up because I thought he looked cool. So, I'm using him Faction War some, but he's definitely not an account changer or game changer. Do it over again, I wouldn't have taken him above 40, but that's probably my two biggest champions that I leveled up that I probably shouldn't have, invested resources in, especially the skill tomes. So before you take a champion up to 60, I know there's a lot of good Facebook groups out there that you can ask or research on YouTube, see if you can find any character guides. So along with leveling up bad champions, you have leveling up bad gear. Now, for example, let me go back to Warden here. So early on, I know you get some different missions that the game wants you to take gear up to level 16. You get good rewards from that stuff too, but it would be best to wait until later in the game where you get gear that's worth upgrading. So, for example, like his banner, I should have never taken that up to 13. I know it didn't take just a ton of silver, but I had a lot of gray and green gear that I took up to level 16. Part of it was trying to do the missions, and then part of it was I thought getting that gray piece of gear up to 716, in a attack percentage chest on kill was going to win the game for me. Oh, it's not worth it. A good rule to follow that I wish I had followed was on leveling up gear. Blue rare gear just take up to 8. Your epic gear take up to 12, and then if you've got a really good piece of legendary gear, then take it up to 16 for the extra stat rolls. And once I started doing that, I feel like I'm being a lot smarter with my silver, being more picky about my gear. And so I wish I had known that early on what the difference was between good and bad gear, and when to start putting money into the gear. The next thing I did was neglecting the dungeons. So I started out and I pretty well just stayed in campaign for a very long time. I'd do a few of the dungeons when it was calling for some of the missions or the quests that you do. But I got to a point where I had a good team of level 60s, but all their gear was horrible because I wasn't running through and doing the dungeons. Um, Once I started doing that, getting better gear, I was able to progress a little further. And you keep adding more gear to champions, making them better, and you just kind of see that progression start to build up over time. But that was probably one of the biggest things I did early on was neglecting the dungeons, and that was also with the potion keeps. Um, Early on, you don't really think the potion keeps do that much for you, but you can't ascend champions without potions. And so I've kind of worked that into a monthly rotation for me where I'll just take 1 week out of the month and I'll go through and do my multi battles on each keep for each day that it's open. And that kind of helps me get stockpiled for when I want to do a fusion or if I'm pulling shards. Let's see what the next thing is. All right, faction wars. The biggest thing that I neglected was just doing faction wars. For example, early on, I had Syl the Drakes and Valkyrie. So 2 barbarians, very good. And I didn't do faction war stuff for a very long time after it was opened up. And the faction wars is important because it gives you what you need for the forge to make gear. And there's some really nice gear sets in here that you can use, early on, mid, in game. But one of the other reasons to farm is to make the gear, and if you get bad gear, to sell it and make more silver from it. So I wish I had started doing the forge earlier on. So with a lot of this, it's basically, I wish I'd started doing everything early on in the game. And I know it's hard to do sometimes, some days with time, but you can kind of, divide up and conquer and get a little bit of everything. And I wish I'd done that sooner. Probably my biggest mistake is right here in the portal of not saving these shards. Of course, I didn't really understand, the events that were going on. So, for example, right now, you have a 2 times chance of legendary champions, and then you also have a 10 times chance that if you do pull a legendary, it might be that specific one. So I didn't realize how often these events happened and that it was better to save your shard for when the 2 times event was going on. And if you click that little eye icon, you can go here and it will tell you the chances that you have. So right now, legendary, it's normally only a 6% chance. This weekend, you got a 12% chance. And then if you do, it's a 10 times chance to get Draco. So I was popping shards as soon as I was getting them. And I probably missed out on a lot of champions by not holding them and saving them until it's time to do it. My other mistakes were not saving resources. So resources you buy, ones you get from game updates or whatever, they come up here to your inbox. I would go through here and click everything that I could. I didn't even think about you could save something in here for 99 days. All the potions, I was just collecting. Clan boss keys, I was clicking on, which I know usually get those from update in the last couple days anyway. But I just wasn't being smart. Go through the XP, I'd collect, and everything that I could collect, as soon as I got it, I collected it. And so I wasted a ton of resources early on because when I did start doing some of the dungeons and stuff, I'd collect that XP and then it wasn't getting really used for anything because I wasn't running campaigns. I was running my level 50s and level 60s in the dungeons, and they weren't gaining XP because they weren't, trying to do that. I was just trying to get gear, farm gear. And I wasted a lot of those XP days not doing campaign. So save them for when you're doing the champion training events, or, you just kind of want to do that specific for a couple days. Just make sure you save those for when you actually need them. And then speaking of this, and this is probably the worst mistake I've made. So the XP flag, when you click it, it tells you what it's for. XP boost, the amount of XP your champions earn in battle is increased by 100%. Well, I just kind of skimmed over that. I didn't really read it and think about what it was doing. So your account up here tells you, what level your account is, or that number does. So I thought that the XP boost only boosted your XP for your account. I didn't realize that it was for the champions running them through, campaigns or dungeons, however you were leveling them up, that the XP was doubling the experience that your champions were getting doing things. I thought it just, for everything in the game, the XP you were getting for your account level, that it was doubling that. So that's probably one of the dumbest things I've done, was just not reading what something said. Let's see. Okay, and then along with not reading stuff, I didn't really spend much time researching the game. And it kind of goes back to having Warden and his 30% increased defense. I didn't take time to familiarize myself with the different buffs and debuffs. A 15% weaken compared to a 25% weaken, the 30% compared to the 60s. I just didn't take the time to try to research and learn a little bit about the game because, like I said, running Warden and Thennasil on the same team, it wasn't really doing much good for me. I could have had another DPSer or another debuffer or buffer in there. So not taking the time to research that, to really slow down and read champion skills. There's so many champions that I used wrong because I just didn't take that few extra seconds to really look at their skills and then try to form team synergies. But once I started doing that, I could tell a pretty big difference in the progression that I was making. Let's see. All right. The other thing I did multiple times was not following the tournaments and events. And I was really, really bad about it. And I remember one time there was a artifact enhancement event just like a day and a half away. And I decided I don't want to wait on that. I want to level this gear up. So I leveled up a bunch of gear, and then the artifact enhancement event came. I didn't really do anything with it. Where if I just would have waited that day and a half, I could have got some extra rewards from doing that. So just my own stubbornness of wanting to do things on my time when I wanted to, which this game does make it hard because it does seem like you're having to wait for everything. You want to do something, and it's, oh wait, we've got this event coming up. Oh wait, we got this tournament coming up. But if you do wait, it's just a lot smarter because not only are you doing what you want to do, but then you're getting the extra rewards from doing the tournament or the event. And then probably this is also one of the dumbest things I did, and it's also the last thing I'm going to talk about, is not using my own referral code for my alt account. So when Ninja came out, I decided that I wanted to make a second account because Ninja was only available for a limited time. I thought, well, I saw a lot of people had multiple accounts they were using. I thought, well, if I ever, get bored of my main account, I can always go onto my alt account. So I did that to get Ninja. But I think I used one of Ash's promo codes and got another epic champion where if I would have used my own referral link, because now my alternate account is up to level 50, I could have gotten these resources, which it's not huge, but still every little thing helps. I could have got Sacred Shard, a Void Shard, a couple epic books, and so that was kind of really, really dumb on my part of not using my own referral code. I think I was just kind of so excited that I thought of, oh, I can get another account and get a ninja on that, and then have some fun later on. But yeah, that's probably one of the top two dumb things I did, because I know people that have made three separate alternate accounts just to get these rewards, and so I might do that someday. But that is, from what I can remember, the main mistakes that I made in the game. Like I said, a couple of them I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that I did. But hopefully for anybody new watching, maybe this will help you out and keep you from making the same mistakes I did. So I thank you guys for taking the time to watch all the way to the end. And if you did watch this long, please subscribe. It would help me out. I think I'm up to 39 subscriptions, so I'm pretty happy about that. And I thank everyone who did subscribe for helping build the channel. So I hope you guys have a blessed day, and we will see you next time. Bye.